we can.
Okay, thank you. So this hand pain, especially on the thumb, is a very common thing. So that can be easily managed with, simple pain can be managed with a little bit of micropore taping. If it is more, it will need more restriction. Then we usually give a kind of splint like this, the hand splint, which will hold the thumb outwards. So you get some rest. You can still use your hand, but this movement, which is painful, where the thumb moves inward, that can be restricted. It usually takes a few days for these things to heal. Sometimes it can take a little longer also. And these things are usually there in the third trimester, like from your ninth, seventh month, eighth month, and all. That is where it is more common. The other common thing is to develop swelling in the hands. So this can put pressure on the nerves which are entering the hand. The blue portion which is indicated almost the thumb, the other two fingers, and part of the ring finger. There can be numbness also, and there can be pain. Sometimes there is burning sensation. So it is because of this kind of numbness and pain that some ladies they find, especially a banker finds it very difficult to sign in the papers and checks and everything. So it really affects their work. So the reason for swelling could be varied, but when it affects the hand and it is making it difficult for doing some basic function, then it is little hard to manage. So they may need much more restriction to hold the wrist, because what can increase the pain or the numbness is the wrist movement, especially the wrist bending down. This movement can increase the pain and the numbness. And many a times it is because of our posture. So there is already a swelling. So swelling is something, which needs to be medically treated. Your doctor may give some medication or check your BP and things like that. Fluid retention is common during pregnancy. So when the swelling is still there, what we want to do is we want to avoid lot of this position, which can increase the possibility of numbness and pain. So mainly we keep one position for too long, especially in sleep. So if we can in our sleep avoid positions like putting the hand under the head. This is a very common thing. So keeping the hand under the head for sleeping can put more pressure and give more numbness, which may take longer time to resolve. Odd positions of keeping hand, these are all our habits. So keeping the hand like this, or tucking it under the chin, or not using a pillow and simply sleeping on your arm, these are all positions which can increase the possibility of developing more numbness. So these are things we want to avoid during pregnancy. So rather keep a pillow for your neck and keep the arm by the side, not tucked under the body. So some exercise to reduce the swelling will also be good. See, the reason why I'm showing this particular exercise is because for some women, gripping, holding something or maybe holding a dumbbell or pulling on an exercise band can also be difficult. So even without doing any active movement to your hand, you can simply move the shoulders, so which will pump the fluid, so it will reduce the swelling. So whenever there is longer period of sitting, like sitting at the computer for half an hour, where you can feel that your hands are getting swollen, or the numbness is setting in, you can do this bit of exercise maybe for half a minute or 20 seconds, and then you will be able to get back to your work. Okay. Another nagging trouble, I would say, is constipation. So we all know the symptoms of constipation. So not able to move the bowels regularly, or having hard stools, or simply the need to strain for stools, whatever may be the reason. So the need to strain to bring the stools out is a sign of constipation. And we definitely don't want constipation during pregnancy. And what is the main reason for constipation is pregnancy itself, because the hormones of pregnancy will make the bowel movements to become sluggish. So you don't move your bowel so easily. So, the kind of relief which you will get by getting that pressure in the morning, if you don't get it, then it is little hard. Or maybe your pattern of diet where fiber is less and fluid intake is less. So that could be a reason. or a sedentary lifestyle. See, now in quarantine time, everybody is sedentary, so we are sitting in one place. So this will not trigger intestinal movement. And of course, bowel habits. See, what I mean by bowel habits is how, some people are uh, used to straining to pass stools, the way you use the washroom, or some people are used to, using a jet forcefully, and, trying to trigger bowel movements. So these are all our patterns or habits which we may have developed over a period of time. Straining to pass stools is a very common habit which can cause chronic constipation. Okay. So remedies, we all know most of these, like we need to improve the fiber in diet. So you need to have more of your fruits and veggies and your whole grains and pulses, and water intake. At least 2 liters of water. So during summers, at least we need to ensure that you have two full bottles of water and ensure that you complete them. And you ensure to finish them in the daytime. So don't keep your water quota to be completed in the night. So it has to be taken in the daytime. This will not include your limbu pani or buttermilk and soups and other things. It is plain water which we need to consume at least 2 liters. And we also need to get some movement. So getting some pelvic movements, like you can do your morning exercises like hip circles, head tail in and tail out, doing side to side movements. So if you can start, 1 second, whatever. Okay. Oh, so no one is able to see the presentation, is it?
Yes, right now we can see. Yes.
Okay. So I thought the slides were not seen. Okay,
Yes, now
so
it's visible.
okay, earlier it was not.
Yes, earlier we couldn't see the slides.
Okay, I didn't know. Okay, so we were for the constipation. So this is a good thing to do in the morning. So when you wake up in the morning, see, most of us like to have a schedule of moving the bowels in the morning. So on wake up, if you can get these kind of movements, pelvic movements, moving side to side or doing circles. So this will be helpful in initiating the bowel movements, because bowels are also these are all smooth muscles. So when you wake up in the morning, when there is more movement in the body, like you walk around, you do some light exercise, you do some light household work, this will make your bowels to move easily. So then there will be better absorption of water from the bowels. Also bowels will move, and all the fecal matter will get accumulated in the rectum. Only then you have the urge to pass stools. So when we are not having adequate movement, so you can just walk inside the house or do some light exercises which will help you. And we also need to trigger the bowels to move. What can trigger the bowels to move? Abdominal muscle massage can trigger the bowels to move. See, we want to trigger the uh, colon. The colon or the large intestine. It is moving from the right to the left. So the outermost aspect of the belly. So if you do in a circular motion, so we are triggering the colon, the ascending colon, the transverse and the descending colon. So we are making the colon to start moving, the bowels to start moving. So it will start giving you that urge to pass stools. Okay. Also, you can do some hip circles in the standing position. Gravity is also going to help you. Plus, taking some warm fluid. So it can be either tea, hot coffee, or it can be hot water, or it can be warm milk. Something which you can take in the morning, warm, which will trigger. Taking some food in the stomach is something which will trigger your bowel movements. So these are all ways to trigger your bowels to move. And it is important to reset your body clock. So how we have to reset is, these are things we are doing. We want to get some movement. We want to trigger the bowels to move. But how you will reset your body clock? Many ladies say that now I don't get that urge. So if I don't get that urge, then I'm not able to move my bowels. Then it is the next day. So it is very important that you don't postpone the urge to move the bowels. The lightest urge you have, the feeling that you want to pass stools, whatever you are doing, just drop it. Okay, and then you can build on it. Like, you have a small urge, you want to ensure that it triggers further bowel movement. So then you are going to do all the massage and the movement and some warm fluids and all those stuff, so that you can even think about doing bowel movement. So the urge will build up. Then you will be able to have a nice strong bowel movement. So when you sit on the pot, you don't have to strain, and you can pass stools easily. So this is how you can form a routine. Forming a routine is very important. So when you have the urge to pass stools, that gets the first importance. All other work can wait, because if you suppress that urge, you may not get it for the next one day. So this is very, very important, which we need to follow for getting a routine for your bowel movements. And the other important thing is not to strain. Okay, because straining to pass stools, many times it is habitual, or it is a behavioral thing, that you have the urge. This is the normal bowel. There is a urge to pass stools. So you have to relax the anal passage. You don't need to put any pressure. So naturally the bowel movements will ensure that the stools move out. But many people are in the habit. This is habit forming, where when the bowels are moving, they want to also help very actively by trying to hold their breath and push. So when they strain, it is more like lifting a heavy weight. Imagine how your body responds when you have to pick up a heavy weight. It does not want anything to leak from below. So it will tighten. So when you are straining, your body's response is to tighten the pelvic floor or the anal muscles, so that nothing will leak outside. So you're putting pressure, and there is a counter pressure, and it gets harder to get the stools out. So over a period of time, this develops into what is called anismus or a dysynergia, that how much ever strongly you push, you're not able to get the poops out. So this is a very important reason for chronic constipation. So this is behavioral. This has to be corrected by changing our own behavior. So every time you sit on the pot, just don't strain. Wait for the bowels to move and let the poops come out on their own. Okay. So if you form a routine, the process becomes easier. Okay. Another thing is frequency in urination. So we all know that pregnancy is a time where the metabolism is more, so you are going to make more volume of urine. So that is understood. Okay. Plus, additionally, the ligaments around the urinary passage, which we call the pelvic floor, there are, it is like a meshwork of muscles and ligaments. So they are also little slack. So when you are coughing, when you're sneezing, when you laugh, or you have morning sickness, nausea, you're trying to throw up, sometimes your muscles down below, they are not able to hold so strong, that there may be some leaking of urine. So this also to some extent, happens during pregnancy. Okay. So, and the other reason is pressure of the uterus. So in early pregnancy, the uterus is sitting right over the bladder. So in the first trimester also, you may have frequency in urine. The same way in the third trimester, because the uterus is quite heavy, so there is no space for the bladder to expand. So little bit the bladder expands, and then there is a urge to pass urine. Okay. There is another behavioral component, where because we are programmed that, see, you're pregnant, so you should not hold back urine. Everybody has told that it is not a good idea to hold back urine, to go to the washroom. So this sometimes gets so strong that we just go to the washroom every half an hour. Okay. So this is not correct. So we need to change that. So what we mean by frequent urination is, see, normally a person will need to use the washroom at least 4 to 6 times in the day. And you may not need to use the washroom in the night at all, or maximum once. So if you are doing more than 8 times in the day and more than twice in the night, so then it is, we will say that is frequent urination. Okay, so there is no problem because of your frequent urination, but too much is not a good thing. And leaking when you sneeze or cough is the first sign that the pelvic floor muscles are getting little weak. So you want to get them a little stronger. Okay. So another symptom you may feel is that after you go to the washroom, come out. Once you come out of the washroom, you again feel like, no, there's something else, is something more is there. I need to go to the washroom again. So this is incomplete emptying. So this is an important reason for developing urinary infection. And any which ways, pregnancy is a time where the risk of urinary infections are high. So you want to ensure that how you can clear out all these things, right? So the remedies are that you want to restrict the fluid intake past dinner time. So after 9 o'clock in the evening, don't complete your quota of drinking water, because what goes in has to come out in 4 hours. So if you are going to be taking plenty of water at 10 o'clock, then you are going to make several trips to the loo past 1 o'clock or 2 o'clock. So that is going to disturb your sleep. And also important to do the Kegel exercise so that you can have good, strong pelvic floor muscles. So when you cough, sneeze, or when you are cleaning your tongue, you will not leak urine. So, and when you have to cough or sneeze, it's a good idea to tighten the pelvic floor muscles, the muscles from below, so that they will support you when you cough and sneeze. Another thing you can do is the double voiding. What is this double voiding? Double voiding helps in completely emptying your bladder. Because pregnancy is a time where there can be incomplete voiding, you want to spend a little extra time in the washroom. Don't just rush out of the washroom. So once you are in the washroom, sit in a comfortable position. Getting the body slightly leaning forward is a good way to begin voiding. So once you feel that you have completely emptied the bladder, don't get up. Just sit there for a little longer. Maybe you can lean back a little, and then within a few seconds you may feel that there is urge to void again, so then you can complete the voiding. Even turning on the tap where you can hear the sound of running water will also help in voiding completely, because these are things which help the bladder muscles to contract well and help in complete voiding. Another thing you can do is, you have just voided once you've emptied your bladder, then you stand up. Don't come out of the washroom, just wait there for a while. It can be a good 10 seconds also. If you feel, yes, I want to void again, then again you sit and complete the voiding. This will ensure that you are able to drain or empty the bladder as much as possible, which is very good for preventing urinary infections. The other thing is, for women who are going to the washroom several times, they say that it's endless. I get tired going to the washroom. Every half an hour, I feel like going to the washroom and I don't hardly get any pee. It's maybe on 50 ml or so, but I can't stop it. What is this going on? So this is like you want to train the bladder. This is all because of habit. As I told you, we just, we are getting habituated. Somebody told us, see, in pregnancy, it is normal to go to the washroom. Please go to the washroom. Don't, defer the urge. You have to go whenever you feel like. So we keep rushing to the washroom. So then what happens is the muscles of the bladder, they behave like toddlers. So if you keep listening to them, then they are ready to roll on the floor and cry. Every time, every half an hour, they say, come on, let's go to the washroom. So you have to train the bladder to fill in little more before you get the call to go to the washroom. So if you are going to the washroom, every half an hour or so, when you have the urge, just wait, just ignore and say, okay, a little later. Okay, so you can defer the urge a little. So maybe after another half an hour, when you feel, yes, my bladder is sufficiently full, then you go and use the washroom. So this is called a bladder training. This is little different from how you treat the bowels, because when the bowels are calling you, you will not wait. You will immediately go. But when the bladder is calling you, if it is calling every half an hour, you don't answer the call every half an hour. You say just wait, maybe after some time. And then you go maybe after 1 hour or 1.5 hours when you feel the bladder is little more full. And then you can have sufficient volume of urine to void, at least 250 ml. That is a reasonable volume for you to void. So you don't want to answer the call too soon. Okay. So next online is the rib cage pain. So what is a rib cage pain? Is you get the pain on the rib cage, especially the lower part of the ribs. So what could be the reason? The main reason I feel is the torso, the length of the torso. You can see women of same height having different length of the torso. The upper body length can be different. Okay, so this is going to decide how much space there is. So if you see women here, three women with similar pregnancy weeks, but see the size of the belly. So women who have a shorter torso tend to feel full on the belly very soon, and then the belly is also protruding out, and they are more likely to feel the pressure on the ribs earlier. So it can be from any, and if you're carrying twins, then you are going to experience it much earlier, say around 4.5, 5 months, while a lady who is carrying a single baby may start feeling it at 7 months or 8 months, and some of them don't feel it at all. It all depends on the length of the torso, how much space is there, the size of the baby, and all these factors. Okay, and women who have to be sitting. So sitting for long time, especially with a poor posture, will make the ribs to dig into the belly. So this can give you a lot of soreness. Hmm. Plus a very poor posture, even while standing, even if you're not in a sitting job, standing, if your body is slouched, the rib can dig into the belly, thereby giving soreness. So typically what you feel is soreness on the sides or slightly in the front. Some of them even feel a burning sensation. Working mothers especially feel that I'm not able to sit for work post lunch. So I need to sit back and lean back like a Maharaja and then work. Or they have to get up and walk. Some of them may feel that I'm feeling shortness of breath because I'm not able to breathe so easily. It feels all sore and painful down there. So you want to do rib cage mobility routinely to, keep the rib cage mobile. So this is something which you can do on a daily basis, which will keep your ribs moving freely and give more extensibility. Plus, you can do the torso stretch while you are at work. So if you have been sitting for some time, you can do the stretch so you can elongate the tissues on the side of the body. So this relieves the pain and gives more space. You feel, there is a lot of space available for the baby. And also important to change the way we are sitting. So, you can see how floor sitting can change just by adding cushion. So if you have to be sitting on the floor, if you sit like this and if you already have rib cage pain, this is going to feel very uncomfortable. You add cushions below, your posture becomes straight without any extra effort, and your ribs are naturally free. So there is no digging of the ribs downwards, and you are going to be pain free. The same can be used while working as well. You can have a cushion and then you can sit. So what is important for you to notice, the knee should be at a lower level as compared to the hip. So the hip is higher, the knee is lower level, means then the pelvis is well aligned, then the spine is going to be straight, then obviously the ribs are also going to be straight. And entire forearm to elbow, if it can be resting on the table when you're working, it takes part of the weight of your upper body here. So then weight will not transfer to the ribs, so you can reduce the impact. If you have to use your mobile phones for a longer time, or you want to chat, or you want to watch movie, this position where you sit on a dining chair ulta, I really love this position because you get to prop up your upper body here. So the weight of your upper body is not coming on your ribs, and it is very good on your back also. So in case you want to have your back nicely massaged, this is a very good position where your partner can help you. Okay, now comes the pelvic joint pain. This is something which is very hard to understand for most ladies, because it is like I can work all day long. The moment I rest, it hurts, right? So that is the hard part. So I'm not allowed to rest. You continue to work, everything is fine. You rest and it starts hurting. So this is again due to the laxity of joints. So plus it can get worse if you have a fall on the bottoms. And pregnant ladies are more prone to having falls. So, sometimes we miss a step and you just land on the step. Landing on the bottoms is, sometimes it is all fine. You get up and move around. After a week or so, you start experiencing that something is wrong. This side is paining, and on the groins it is paining. So then, if you just think, what did I do? What did I do? And then you may feel that, I fell down, the doctor's office when I was coming out, I just had a fall. Even you need not even fall, you were about to fall, you just managed to save yourself. That little high impact movement is just sufficient to move your, pelvic joints off the position. And it is a very subtle thing that, but it can get very, very painful. And walking on uneven ground, or taking a two-wheeler, or having a ride on an uneven road can also give pelvic joint pain, because the joints are slack. Anything which can disturb it can, change the joint alignment, and it can give you pain. So these are all the symptoms which can be there. There can be sharp pain on the bottoms, or it can be on one side. So the pain of the pelvic joint typically is not on the back, it is on the bottoms. So it is on one bottom more. Many of them say it is only on the left side it is hurting, it doesn't hurt on the right side. And for some, it keeps switching. For a few days, it was hurting on the left side. Now it has changed. Now it is hurting on the right side. Sometimes it can, you know, move all the way to the thigh. Some people think, is it a sciatic pain? It is not a sciatic pain, but the ligaments, because they are slack, it mimics sciatic pain. It radiates. It runs through the back of the thigh. It can be sharp, but it is not sciatic pain. And sometimes there is pain on the pubic area, on the groin. They feel that somewhere, the near the private part there is pain. It is especially more when they are moving. So sometimes even a uterine contraction, if there is a preterm uterine contraction, that also feels like a pelvic joint pain. Or a round ligament pain can also look like a pelvic joint pain. But the typical pelvic joint pain, how you can make out the difference is, it is typically there when you're moving after rest. You are lying down, you are on one side, you are trying to turn to the other side. Ouch, it's hurting a lot. It can be so painful that you can shriek out. Okay, so which is very typical of pelvic joint pain. And as long as you're moving, you are working, you're standing, moving around, everything is fine. It is the maximum difficulty is in lying. Many ladies have difficulty turning in bed, or when they have to put on their pajamas, or they have to pick up their feet. If it is very severe, it can be very difficult. They find it very difficult to climb stairs. They cannot even walk. And if it is painful, you can just make out, because their face can become so upset that that there is a lot of pain, and it is something which need to be addressed. So the key here is, we need to respect pelvic joint pain, because throughout pregnancy you will keep hearing that, see, there will be some aches and pains. You should not mind all those. You should just continue your work. The more you work, everything will settle. No, not with pelvic joint pain. Okay, because there are many ladies who say that this is what I've been told, so I just continue to work, I continue to do, it is only worsening. So this is how typically the pelvic joint pain behaves. That if you ignore, and the joint keeps on moving, rubbing, and it is getting more and more inflamed, the pain becomes pathetic. So you need to avoid those movements which are giving you pain, or learn how you can move without pain. The most important thing is, you should move without pain if you want the pain to resolve. If you keep working into the pain, it is just going to increase and it will not reduce. So be careful about the pelvic joint pain. We don't want to work through the pain. You have to ensure that there is no pain, and then you can do. A little bit understanding about the pelvic joint. See, this is how our pelvis is. So this is the back. These are the sacroiliac joints in front. This is the pubic symphysis, or the front of the joints. So this is the back view. This is the tailbone. And see, there are a lot of ligaments. They are thick ligaments here. And imagine, this is what gives the stability in the pelvic joint. And if this is getting slack, how the movements can be. So there is a small video for you to see. Let me see if it opens. Not opening. Mhm. Yeah. So those are the sacroiliac joints, front the pubic symphysis. So this is the place most ladies will complain of pain. This is not the back. This is into your butt. It is deep into the butt. When you press, you don't feel any pain. See the amount of movement which normally happens. It's a very small movement. But during pregnancy, this movement can be little more. See the small, tiny movement the pelvis will allow. And imagine if it gets slack, how it can be. Let me see if this will open. See the pubic symphysis will normally not move. Only this much movement is possible. So it is the integrity of the entire thing, which is important, because there are two joints which can move behind. There is one joint which can move in the front. So when everything keeps moving, it's going to be chaos, right? So, and it is a weight bearing joint, means it is going to transfer the load. So from your spine to the leg to both the legs. So imagine what will happen if you don't sit on both the bottoms equally. You are in the habit of sitting on one bottom while at work, or in the habit of standing on one bottom, or you want to do a nice Bollywood hip hop dance. So this can cause asymmetry in the pattern of weight distribution. It can cause shear. See how the pelvic joint can move, it can displace, it can give severe pain, right? So pelvic joint, if you want to manage the pelvic joint pain, what we want to do is we want to keep this ring intact. huh? We don't want this to keep moving anywhere. So there are three places where it can move. So we don't want this to move. So if you and this the interesting thing is the laxity is going to keep on increasing during pregnancy, right? So you may experience pelvic joint pain from the beginning of pregnancy, or it can just start in your ninth month. Okay, so it can all be variable. So whenever it starts, your idea is not to stop the laxity, because this is part and parcel of your pregnancy. You want to keep this ring intact when you are moving. When it hurts. When you move, it hurts. When you're just beginning to move. After you have done the movement, you're comfortable. That is how it is. So after rest, when you move, you have to ensure that this ring remains intact. So how do we do that? Some things we can do and we cannot do. You should not stand on one leg. Don't pick up things using your foot. And don't sit on low sofas. That is not for you. You can sit on dining chairs or high chairs which have firm cushions. And avoid two-wheelers and bumpy road travel. And what you need to do is you need to regularly exercise. Many women think that I have pain, so how do I exercise? Then it is going to increase. No, exercise will keep your core muscle strong. It will give you stability, it will give you pain relief. And reduce floor level activities. Whenever you have to do a lot of floor level activities, pick up a footstool, sit on that. And every time after rest, when you have to move, give some time, whether it is standing up after long hours of sitting or getting up from the lying down position, give few seconds, align your pelvic joints, do small rocking movements, ensure that everything is fine, and then take the steps. And when you go walking, take smaller steps. Sometimes bigger steps will make the joints to move more, can give you more pain. So you can do smaller steps so you can continue to enjoy walking. You don't need to stop activity. So these are some of the tricks which you can use. Like, if the people who have the pain will understand how important it is to be able to have some tricks. So the trick is to keep both the feet in level, not to pick up one leg and put it in the front. So the similar thing you will follow when you have to sit down to the floor. And there is a trick which I always recommend when you have to turn in bed. Why this is not starting? Mm. See, you need to arch your back, right? So arch the back, maintain the arch, keep your knees together, and move like a log. and slowly shuffle your bottoms. You have to do this little mindfully to avoid pain, and then again arch the back and then turn. So once you have turned, you can settle down and go back to sleep. But it is the turning part which is the difficult thing. So this little trick will help you. Okay. So the more easy thing to manage is the low back pain. So so there may be a pre-existing back pain. So women who are already having back pain or because of poor posture, having long sitting hours, these are people who are more likely to develop low back pain, right? So it increases during day, and in the evening weekends are the best time because you don't have to do too much of sitting or standing, and the pain will be the lesser degree. So exercises are very important. It is very important to mobilize the back while you're at work. You can do this slouch and arch few times to ensure that your back remains mobile. It is like oiling your sewing machine because the joints need lubrication. So by doing these movements, you are giving the synovial fluid to move between the joint spaces, make the joints more supple, and keeps them pain free. And also important to build up strength. These are all safe exercises which you can do during pregnancy, to do the arm lifts, to do the leg lifts. So you have to be, when doing the leg lifts, be a little careful in case you are having pelvic joint pain. This may not be little easy, may sometimes give you pain. So then in that case, you may have to modify. Local heat can also be used. You can use a hot water bag or something, but ensure that you don't keep it for too long, not more than 10 to 15 minutes. Okay. So, on how to take care of your back? So, it is a good idea to alternate between sitting and standing. See, now that we are all in quarantine, most of you are working from home. So, you have the luxury of deciding how you want to. What happened? Ooh, ooh, ooh. Something happened. Yeah, I don't know. Yeah, the presentation got stopped in between. 1 second. Let me start it. Mm, I don't know how to get it back. It's taking a little time.
No problem. Take your time.
So if you're having back pain, so it is a good idea to keep standing. You can stand at least for 2 minutes. If you have been sitting for 1 hour, then you can arrange your laptop in such a way that you can stand and work for at least 2-3 minutes. So that will give relief from the pressure on the back. And you also need to know how to bend forward, how to pick up things from the floor. These are all usually things which women keep asking, because whether to bend down or not to bend down. If I can bend down, what is the right method of bending? And during pregnancy, most ladies have the feeling that they want to keep their foot resting on something. So, can you see the slide now?
Not yet.
Now, can you?
No, ma'am. No.
Sharing.
Now it shows it is sharing. You're not able to see?
Not yet.
Not yet.
Maybe could we have the Q&A session till the time it gets sorted so that we save on time?
1 second. And no, mine is not sharing. Now can you see?
No.
Yeah, it is
Yes, now we can
Now it
see.
is there?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. So what I was saying is you can alternate between standing and sitting. So you can arrange your work surface in such a way that you can stand, at least for 2 minutes, and then you can sit. Many ladies during pregnancy, they want to put their leg up on something because that makes it comfortable. So I always tell them, never put both your legs up. Then it is going to tilt your back. So you're going to sit on your tailbone. You're sure to get back pain. So you put only one leg up on a stool, and it should be lower than the level of the knee. Only then you will not bend your spine. Otherwise, you can bend the spine. So if you want, you can keep the leg straight or you can bend the leg. So whatever, these two options are good, and always a good idea to put a cushion and adjust the chair height. So avoid low chairs. Instead, you can take your dining chair and you can sit on that and see how easy it is to keep your back straight. And also a correct way of bending. So you don't need to worry too much. You can bend forward, but ensure that your knee is not pointing too much ahead. So I've kept a photograph here so that you can have a clear idea. The knee should not move ahead. It should be in the same level as the foot. Instead, the bottom should move back. So this way, there is not much strain on the back, not much strain on the knee. It is wrong to squat and stand, because that is going to put a lot of pressure on the knees as well as in the pelvic floor. So that is something we will avoid. So this is a correct way to bend and pick up things. And when you're doing housework, like at the kitchen sink, you know, the belly should not be protruding too much ahead. If you just gently hug the belly, I usually tell my mothers, you hug your baby close to you so that the belly is pulled in a little, so the pressure on the back will be less. You can see how the arching is more here, the arching is less here. The pressure on the back will be less. The result will be immediate. You are having back pain while washing the dishes, which we all do during quarantine, which we hate to do. So what you can do is you hug your baby and immediately you feel it is easier. You can complete the rest of the work much more easily. And also whenever you have to reach to the lower shelf or the refrigerator, you want to reach the vegetable tray, take a footstool. Avoid sitting down, bending, then squatting or how to get up. So this is easier. You keep a footstool in the kitchen. This is the easiest thing. So whenever you have to do some deep cleaning of the cupboards or you want to sort the vegetable tray in your refrigerator, this will come handy. Upper back pain is also common. So it is all mostly, the way you position your mouse, how you keep your hands and work, or women who are carrying their laptop bags or with a poor posture, they are more prone to develop upper back pain. And usually the pain is between the shoulder blades. Between the shoulder blades, there can be pain. Plus, there can be stiffness in the muscles, which are on the upper back and the shoulder blade area. So the remedies can be like do short bit of exercises. I usually call them the washroom exercise. Now that we are not able to go for work, so you can do them at your desk. You can do massage. You can do local heat. Massage also works really well. So you need to keep the upper body flexible. So this towel exercise where you can stretch the shoulder blades will keep the upper body sort of supple because we are keeping the hands always in the front. So this will help in reducing the effect of keeping the hands all the time in the front. So you get a little flexible. Another thing you can do is to do this towel exercise, which I always call the washroom exercise. I tell women, when you're in the washroom, you have a towel with you, just stand in front of the mirror and do this around 10 to 20 times. So this will work the shoulder blades. It reduces the front of the shoulder from slouching in the front. So this will balance the muscles, the front of the muscles and the back of the shoulder muscles. So this balance will help in getting rid of the pain in the upper back. Other common difficulties, sleeplessness can be there. This again is can be hormonal, because you are getting ready to take care of the baby, so you're not able to sleep in the night. And if you have a longer afternoon nap also, you may not be able to fall asleep in the night. Plus caffeine, stress, and sometimes it is just behavioral. Like, some of us are used to being awake in the night because there is a message, there is a Facebook notification which is coming. So the remedy is, the first thing is to follow gadget hygiene. You have to decide till what time you want to keep the gadgets on. It is not just you, even your spouse, because then there is some activity in the room happening and it is difficult to fall asleep. Second thing is, you need to schedule your bedtime. So you can have, you can make it a predictable routine, like having a shower, warm shower before your bedtime. You can have music, you know, uh, when you have just switched off all the lights and then you want to sleep, you can set music for 1 hour. It can be a soft instrumental music which will soothe you to sleep, or you can do some relaxation. These are all things which will help you to have a it will help in setting your body clock so that you will be able to fall asleep. And light exercise in the evening will also help you. Other things are acidity. Acidity is again due to hormonal changes. There can be poor intestinal mobility, and if you keep longer gaps between meals, then also it can give rise to acidity. So usually the remedies for acidity are to have small and frequent meals. Instead of having 3 big meals, you have 6 tiny meals, and sleeping should be only 3 hours after your meal. So if you're having your dinner at 8, then you can go to bed at 11 o'clock. And you can sip cold water, cold milk, which will help in reducing the acidity, whenever you have that acid feeling. And if you are uncomfortable, heartburns are there, and you are very tired, you want to lie down, then you can just elevate the head end of the bed with a pile of pillows. So these are all things which can help you with your acidity. So nausea, again, the reason is hormonal. So you may just feel nauseated at the smell of specific food. So some women did feel that they don't like the smell of tadka or some dal. These are all typical symptoms. It can be just mild like that, so which you may avoid, or it can be very strong, like you throw up so often, or you throw up after every meal that you have to take your medication. Without that, you cannot manage. So the remedies can be like having ginger tea or mint tea. And morning you can have dry things, like having a dry toast, dry poha, the chutney dal or something, or dry soya chunks, which does not have any strong flavor. Sometimes that can be agreeable to you. Even changing the temperature of the food can help. Sometimes you will not throw up if you have something very hot. If you're having hot soup, or if you're having a hot bowl of boiled vegetables, just having black pepper on top, you may not feel nauseated, but you may feel like throwing up if you are having lukewarm milk. So you can make the temperature little strong, or you can have ice cream, really cold ice cream, you may not feel nauseated. So these are all ways by which you can manage. And swelling in the feet, this is a problem usually in the third trimester. So the reason being long hours of sitting or standing and fluid retention. So remedies, obviously, we need to avoid having tight clothing, especially capris, which will tighten around the knees, or around the ankles. Tight leggings also you may want to avoid. Elastic straps in the footwear, pumps, those are things which you will want to avoid. Wear comfortable footwear which will accommodate your swelling. And leg elevation is important. Like you can have a pile of pillows and keep your legs up on that. But don't sleep like this. This you can keep only for 10 to 15 minutes. Along with that, you can move your feet also to hasten the draining of fluids. During the daytime or before you go to bed, you can do the ankle pumps, so which will pump the blood and as much fluid as is possible towards the heart, so which will give you some relief. Plus, you can top it with a little stretching of the calf so that you feel more comfortable at the bedtime. So that is it. So any questions anyone has?
Will the Dr. Nigam Khatri here?
Yeah.
Will the
Ravi?
stiffness, yes, yes. Will
Ha.
the stiffness in the neck area also get relieved with the exercise you just showed? The back pulley kind of exercise with the towel which
Yes,
is
the upper back exercise which I had shown, it can help in relieving neck stiffness also. Because neck stiffness does not happen in isolation. Because neck is a very small area. So when we have to manage the neck, we need to treat the upper back. So, when we are sitting for too long, when you're keeping the shoulders hunched, then the neck will start getting stiff. So you need to relieve or make it more supple from the upper back for you to feel the relief in the neck, because neck is very sensitive. You keep moving it side to side, front and back, and circling. Sometimes it reduces, sometimes it can increase. So this is a sure bet. If you work on the shoulder blades on the upper back, you're sure to get relief from the neck pain. But you may need more, this is the general guidelines, but you can try that. And if you need extra help, I would want you to take help,
sure.
right? Because there are so many other things also which could be done, so which will be possible with a proper understanding of what exactly is happening and how it can be managed. Any other questions? So should be, yeah, any more suggestion on labor and delivery? Okay. So Yogita is asking if there is any suggestion for labor and delivery because of the COVID. See, the important thing is we don't uh, want to visit the doctor too often. Right now, the doctors are also reducing the number of visits. There are only at specific times in your pregnancy you are called, not so often. So, if you are maintaining good health, if you ensure that all your discomforts are eased out, you are doing your exercise regularly, and you're keeping your lifestyle comfortable, then any difficulties for which you need to go to the hospital will reduce, and this will also help you to move towards an uncomplicated birth, because the less complication in your pregnancy, the better it is going to for you now. So that is the only thing. So ensure that you don't escalate things. So if it is a small constipation, try to follow a proper pattern, whatever we discussed. Ensure that everything is fine. It should not become a hemorrhoid and then needing further referral. No. So that is what we need to ensure. So keep everything under control. So your weight gain, your health parameters, everything is good, then you will be absolutely fine. Should water birth or home birth? Okay. See, water birth is a good choice. Home birth is also a good choice. But there are many things which are associated with water births and home births. So, not every person is a good candidate for water birth or home birth. So, home birth also requires a backup hospital. So, you will have a midwife who will come to your home, they will do the assessment, they will want to do the birth. But if anything goes wrong, you should be willing to just move into the hospital at the last moment. So how much that will be feasible, at this point of time, you need to consider. So That is the thing. But these are all options. There are people who are, going for all different types of birthing experience. So, it is need not be restricted only to a big hospital setup. Anything else? Or should we wrap up now? Okay. So we'll wrap up now. To sum it up, there are many discomforts which can bother you during your pregnancy. So there can be difficulty in holding back urine, frequency in urination, constipation. There can be aches and pains, these kind of discomforts, or it can be nausea, vomiting, the intestine related things. So for all these things, there are simple remedies. If you see, all these remedies which we talked about are all very simple. So you need to try these simple remedies so that it does not increase, that it will call for medical attention. So you try to resolve things as much as possible so that your pregnancy will become comfortable and smooth sailing process. And in case you feel the need, reach out and ask for help. Okay. So all the best. Have a nice time. So next Sunday we'll again have the next meeting. So next time we are going to discuss about postnatal care. Till then, bye.
Thank you, ma'am.